Hello, everyone, and welcome to WP Roundtable. I'm Jason Crawford, coming to you from Medellin, Colombia. And go ahead, Kellen.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Kellen Mace. I am a freelance independent web developer from the east side of Michigan. Happy to be on talking to the great Topher Derosia.
Yes, he is the great Topher. So, I'm Kyle from Jackson, Michigan. WordPress developer, business owner, and love being here. I'm so glad we made it to episode 24, guys. We're really killing it, and we've got an awesome guest here. We're taking it to new heights with one of my favorite WordPress developers that I've ever met and been able to interact with, somebody that I highly respect in the community, somebody who actually, a past guest, when asked the question, who should you definitely have on the show again, said, definitely this guy. And we were able to say, sweet, because we already got him booked. And so we've been counting the days to this episode so we can get to learn more about Topher Derosia. He's a superhero over at Eckstein. He's an amazing WordPress plugin developer, WordCamp speaker and organizer, WordPress core contributor, actually, an author of numerous plugins, and a real all-around great guy from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Topher, go ahead and say hello.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this all day too.
Awesome. Well, we're really glad to get you on the show, Topher. We got a lot of stuff to cover and like so many questions because the world wants to know more about Topher Derosia, aka Topher One Kenobi. So
Best handle.
It is excellent, and that's how you were known
Really
for
great.
as well. When a former guest said that Topher One Kenobi guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's start at the beginning. Let's tell everybody a little bit about you and back in the beginning. I know you've been working in the web a long time, like almost as long as I've been alive, pretty much. So. What were you doing like before that, and what were the steps that brought you kind of like into the world of the web?
Well, before I got into web stuff, I was planning on being a missionary pilot. So I have my pilot's license, and my college got internet access, and I started poking around, and one day a guy came up to me and said, and he'd made a web page. I said, man, that's awesome. I could never do that. And he said, oh, sure, let me show you. And at that time, there were only about 25 HTML tags, and so in about 20 minutes, I had learned all there was to know about HTML. And it was just really fun, and I had a great time with it. And I remembered, I think it was Mark Twain that said, never let your schooling get in the way of your education. And so my college started slipping a little bit more and a little bit more as I started learning more and more web stuff. And in my 5th year of college, I decided I did not want to be a pilot. I wanted to work on the web all the time. So I ended up with a religion degree because that's what I was closest to in credit numbers. So I've been doing web stuff ever since.
So you said your 5th year in college, right? Was your degree plan including 5 years of college? Were you going to be a doctor or something, or?
No, I was the college I started in closed and merged with the college I ended in, and so there was some credit juggling. And then when I quit doing aviation, I ended up with 6 years actually. When I quit doing aviation, about 200 credits suddenly didn't count anymore. And so in my last year of college, I took swimming and skiing and intro to math and all the stuff that freshmen. So that's how I spent my last year of college.
Nice.
And messing around on the web way too much. My mother actually said to me, you've got to quit playing on the computer and get back to your studies. And I said, Mom, I think this internet thing's going someplace.
And did she ever change your mind on that one?
Nope, not yet.
Still telling you to stop studying and or stop getting off the internet and
Oh,
start
her?
studying.
Yeah, no, she's happy with where I am.
That's cool. I think I read somewhere, Topher, you were from like a really rural area, weren't you? Like off the grid or something?
Yeah, yep. In '79, my folks, we used to live in Bay City, Michigan, in town.
Mm-hmm.
And in '79, my folks sold everything and bought 10 acres of land in the middle of a very big patch of woods. And we cut down trees and dug a hole and filled it in with a house. And we planned to live off the grid. My dad wired the house and everything, and he went to the power company and said, "How much to hook it up?" And they said, "It's $10,000 for the hookup because of where we lived out in the woods." And he said, "No thanks." So it was probably another 15 years before we got on the power grid.
Wow.
So you guys had to go all Laura Ingalls Wilder and stuff. How did that impact your early education?
Not too much. I mean, we went to school like everybody else. We were only 5 miles from town. But we lit the house with kerosene lamps, just like they did in Little House, and we heated the house with a wood stove in the living room. And I can remember more than one time finding a porcupine chewing on our house and having to take care of it.
A porcupine.
Yeah. Yep.
My biggest problem with porcupines was always my dogs getting into it with them.
Oh yeah. We had that occasionally too.
That's a pain.
Yep. So it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was amazing. We only owned 10 acres, but nobody did anything with hundreds of acres around us. So as a kid, I just ran wild in the woods all day, every day, and my parents had no idea where I was from breakfast till bed, basically.
That's cool.
That's pretty awesome. I love that. It was similar for me growing up too. I think we were out in the country, or moved from the city out to the country, and had wood fields and land, and that was paradise. So definitely love that. How about back a little bit to what you first started doing on the web? Maybe tell us a little bit about like your first dive into it professionally, like when you first maybe took on a client or did a project for an employer. And I want to know what some of those projects were like, because this was a long time ago. Different landscape, different tools, different software. Tell us about that stuff.
The first thing I did for someone else was to build a collection of pages for the university where I was. And it was mostly links to resources. And the professors wanted this. They wanted to, they didn't know anything about the internet. It was really new. And I was able to say, turn on the computer on your desk and type this in, and here's a list of things that you will find useful for your teaching. And then based off that, I was able to convince the university to pay me to build a public-facing site for the university that did things like list courses and professors and stuff like that. And that's the summer that Netscape introduced HTML tables. And so I manually entered the entire student handbook in HTML tables. It's probably 120 pages. And I didn't even really understand tables right. I did them completely wrong. I don't know how it even worked. But I was the highest paid student worker of all time because I had pushed to be paid properly as a web developer, and I was making $10 an hour. So that was my first web gig, making $10 an hour. But then while I was still a student there's a local publishing company. They have, 10 or 15 stores in Southwest Michigan, and they publish quite a lot of books. They came to me about a website as well. And that's, I would say, is my first, away game. Somebody I didn't know came to me and said, we'd like to pay you to build a website. And that site's long gone. The company's still there. The people that hired me are still there, so we talk every now and again and reminisce about that crazy old website.
I just got to put this in reference. What year are we talking here?
That would be 95, maybe 96. Netscape 2 was the version that was out then. Yeah, so it'd be 95.
So this would have been somewhere around the time that you would have been, this is what I hear through the grapevine, very unofficial, but I want to confirm this. This would be roughly around the time that you got credited for designing an official desktop theme for Windows 95.
Yeah, for the International Space Station. Windows 95 came out, and I don't know if you remember, but they released Microsoft Plus, which was an add-on set for 95, and it introduced the concept of desktop themes and had a bunch of screensavers and stuff like that. And so it was really common to make desktop themes. I mean, there were 9,000 desktop themes for the TV show Friends. And just, anybody and everybody made their own fan site desktop theme kind of thing. So I made several for the radio stations on campus. There's a news service and a kids radio show and all that kind of stuff. And I was really into space, and there was not any for the International Space Station. So I just made one. And then I went to the website at NASA for the space station, and I emailed them, and I said, look, I made this. Would you link it? And she said, no, we don't link to stuff off-site. But if you'll let me, I will host it here at NASA, and it can be our official desktop theme. I said, okay. And it was there for a number of years, and I don't have a copy anymore, and I really wish I did. I would port it to Windows 7 if I still had a copy. But
does anybody even have a copy of Windows 95 anymore?
Yeah. Well, I still have a copy of Windows 95A that I got with my Gateway 100 P100 in 1996. But I don't know. It'd be cool. If you ever find a copy of Windows 95, drop it into a virtual machine sometime and watch how fast it is. It takes a second and a half to boot up. It's crazy fast because it's so small, there's nothing there.
I think you're right. That's cool. So that's a pretty fun piece of trivia. So many interesting things to your credit. Another thing that I only just found out about today that I didn't know about until today for some reason, that you're the official WordPress guru over at a really awesome site called OS Training. Can you tell us a little bit more about what OS Training is for those who don't know, and how this come out that you put them?
OStraining.com does video tutorials for Drupal, Joomla, and WordPress. And I have a friend who works there, and he's very, very good with Joomla. And so he does the Joomla videos, and he does on-site training. He travels around all that stuff. But they did not have anybody who specialized in WordPress. They had some people doing WordPress videos, and they know what they're doing. But they wanted somebody who did nothing but WordPress. And so he asked me if I would be willing to do some training videos. And I said, sure. The site's primarily aimed at newer folks. You can start out there knowing absolutely nothing about WordPress and get into it, and it goes pretty deep. There's a how to make a plugin series and how to make a theme series and things like that. But I have a really good time with it. I'm starting to get pushed now. When I first started, it was, how to install WordPress. And so I just fired up the camera and started talking and did those videos. But now I'm starting to do things where I have to study and learn, and even things that I thought I knew. If you ever really want to understand something, teach it, because you will quickly find out that you don't understand it nearly as much as you think you do. So I've made lots of plugins before, but if I'm going to do a series on how to make a plugin, I suddenly realized, well, I've never done that part before. I've never done that thing over there before, because none of my plugins ever needed it. But they're things that, if I'm really going to teach a comprehensive course on how to build a plugin, I need to know how to do that and talk about how to do that. So it stretches me quite a lot, even though technically it's kind of for beginners. It really fills out the edges of things that I think I already know. That's really useful. I really enjoy it.
Cool, man. I found the same thing with teaching things. I totally agree. Next, we want to dive into talking about X-Team and how you are a superhero. Tell us first how you ended up joining X-Team, how that came about.
All right. A couple years of dancing, and one of my clients was a startup, and they talked me into joining them in exchange for equity. And that actually is working out surprisingly well. I was with them for 2 or 3 years, I think about 3 years total. But we got good funding, and it's really big now. It's called VarsityNewsNetwork.com. They build high school athletic department websites, and we've got over 500 schools on board now, and it's going really well. But last summer, not this past one, but a year ago, I didn't really like being there. I didn't like the startup environment, nonstop, all the time, working Christmas Day, blah, blah, blah. I didn't like it. So I got out, and I spent a couple months not knowing what I wanted to do. Do I want to go back to freelancing? What do I want to do? And I realized that I very, very much wanted to go someplace where I knew the least of everybody in the room, so that I couldn't help but learn. Everybody I would talk to would teach me something. With freelancing, I often would get in a rut. I'd be I'm in my basement, I'm working on my own projects, I'm not talking to people, and when I do talk to people, it's not that deep shared code, brainstorming. It's, hey, how are you? That kind of stuff. So I wanted to join a team. I wanted to get with somebody. Last September, I was chatting with Zach Tolman, and I said, I don't know where I want to be. I don't know what I want to do. And he said, you should go to the list of VIP partners at WordPress and apply to all of them and see what you think. And I was looking at the list, and I applied to several of them, but I recognized X-Team because just a few weeks before, somebody from X-Team had a recommendation on a plugin I made. And I didn't know him. I tweeted about this plugin, and he tweeted back and said, hey, you should try this. And it was awesome. It was great. So I saw that, and I tweeted at him, and I said, hey, are you guys hiring? He said, as a matter of fact, we are. And he hooked me up with Weston Reuter, and we started talking, and my 1-year anniversary at X-Team will be tomorrow. And that's how I got hooked up with Eckstein.
That's really awesome. It's funny. I actually had a question come in from a viewer, Peter, over at Pixel Plow.
Oh yeah.
But actually, you just answered it. So so thank you.
Right.
So we'll move on to our next question.
I'm a superhero, so I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I can tell you about the superhero thing. X-Team has a culture of superheroes. They want everybody who works for them to feel like a superhero and act like a superhero, to go above and beyond, to be able to pull the rabbit out of the hat when needed, as it were. And it used to be that when you joined X Team, they gave you a superhero persona. If you were good enough to join, you were good enough to get a superhero persona. And after a while, they ended up with so many employees that just became untenable. And so now you become heroized after doing something worthy, something that makes your teammates go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" There you go, you're a superhero. So last fall, my first project, really, we were building a site for the Grammys, Grammys.ca in Canada. And I worked my butt off. I worked really, really hard, and it was tremendously exciting. I learned so much. The people I worked with all knew more than I did. It was exactly where I wanted to be. I knew exactly that I was in the right place. It was fantastic. And we got done, and I was just, on a crazy high because it was so awesome. And my teammates said, "Hey, Topher did a really good job." And so they heroized me. If you go to heroized.com, you can see a list of all the heroes they've ever made, and not all of them are at X Team. You can pay them to heroize somebody you admire. So you could heroize your mom or dad or your brother or yourself if you want. That would be a little awkward. But heroize.com is pretty cool. You should check it out.
That's awesome. Let's make sure we get that in the show notes, guys, because that's pretty cool. I like that. And I did read your post, and I want to link to that in the show notes as well about you getting heroized and the great, awesome graphic of you as the Thresher.
Yep.
Which is super cool. Like, totally jealous, because that's one of the coolest just company culture things I've heard of. So it sounds like you're really happy at X Team, really happy with the stuff you do. I totally love the way you describe it, looking to be the guy who knows the least in the room. That's super cool, and that says a lot for X Team, because I know that I don't know that many technical communities where you would be the minority. So X Team's got to be a pretty good place. So maybe tell us a little bit about some of your favorite parts of the job day to day. What do you get to do? What's awesome? And are there any parts that are not so awesome that you got to do?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I enjoy the most is its extreme internationality. I recently finished a job where we built the website for the Ottawa Citizen, the newspaper for the capital of Canada. And my team had 2 people from Indonesia, 1 from Poland, 2 from Canada, and then me in the U.S. And all of our teams are like that. We have people in Romania and Egypt and Canada. Where else do we have? Poland. And the way that affects culture within the company is pretty impressive, because it's not an American company. It's not an American team. It's not any one culture's team. That's fun, exciting, and interesting for me. And it actually has nothing to do, per se, with WordPress or web development or anything. It's just those are the people that I work with and that I live with. And I love that. That's really great. I do love the diversity of the work I get, because we're an international company. I don't work for one American company after another. I work for a Canadian company, and an Australian company, and a European company, and all kinds of stuff. And I run into a lot of different people and a lot of different cultures, and that's exciting. As for something I don't like, I can't really think of anything.
Awesome. So, can you share with us some of your favorite projects?
Yeah. At Eckstein, you mean?
Give us one or two there, and one or two top favorites.
Okay. Boy, favorite projects. The Grammys one, my first one, was really, really exciting. Probably partly because it was so new and exciting and crazy. You know, I'd sit down on my computer and there'd be email from Australia from tomorrow. Because it's tomorrow there. I'd be like, wow, this is crazy. And now I'm talking to somebody in Egypt. This is amazing. It was just so thrilling. That's probably one of my favorite projects. And it could be because it was my first. But it was a great project. We really hit a home run. And, you know, the client was impressed, and it's a great gratifying feeling to do a project like that. Another favorite is one we're on right now that I'm not even going to tell you about. I'm not going to tell you who it is. But they came to us from another web development company and weren't very happy there. And partly because we're awesome and partly because most of the problems were actually already resolved, they just think we're the coolest people ever. And that's always a good feeling. You know, it's a really great feeling to have a client say, this is amazing, you're great, I'm so happy. That's one of the reasons I stay in the business, because if my clients were all the time, oh, I hate your work and I don't want to talk to you anymore, I'd probably be a cabinet maker right now. Let's see, other favorite projects. I finished one recently, a project that I started when I was freelancing a year and a half ago, that on one hand was kind of the project of doom because it took me 16 months to finish. But it's called thePACC.com, P-A-C-C, so it's THEPACC.com. And it's a multi-site buddy press, BB press setup for people who hunt for imaginary creatures. So people who look for Bigfoot, people who look for the Loch Ness Monster, people who look for ghosts. It's a community for them. And on the main site, they can get together and chit-chat and do stuff, but then say you have your own Bigfoot hunting team, you can buy a sub-site from them and set it up and have your own little buddy press network for your own little team.
Is this in any way tied to the search for Tupac?
I was just going to ask that. There's a forum on there searching for Tupac?
No, but if you have a Tupac searching team, you can go buy a sub-site there for only $10 a month.
Wait, who was that? Was that Sam, Kyle?
Yeah, the Sam Hotchkiss. We had a good discussion about the search for Tupac back in episode, a previous episode. 17.
13?
17.
Oh, 17. Yeah, he's creating an app to find Tupac.
Nice. So on the one hand, that project was horrible because it dragged on and on and on and on and on. And on the other hand, just the whole idea of the site is awesome. It was so much fun to be working on that site and to take seriously every mysterious thing ever. Spaceships, ghosts, monsters, it's all in there.
I was going to say you introduced it as, you know, every make believe, you know, being ever or pretend being ever, but the folks in these communities would probably not agree with that terminology, right?
Yeah, what's interesting to me is it's fairly common to find somebody who will swear up and down Bigfoot is real and they have absolute proof, but ghosts, come on. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, there are a few people who are so open-minded, they're like, sure, whatever, it's got to exist. All of them.
It's like there's still the Flat Earth Society.
Sure.
Still exists. These people that think that the governments of the world have conspired to convince us all that the Earth is round, but really, at the heart of it is it's still flat.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell them to sign up for a community.
They should.
They already have their own site.
And they can go hunting to the edge of the Earth.
Yes.
That's great. See, we learned so many things on this program, on this show. I consider this an educational show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that I really wanted to kind of touch on and chat about a little bit, if you could, because you know more about it than I, maybe have some insight there about this awesome stream plugin. So maybe you could give our audience and us the gist. What's this plugin about? What does it do? What was the story behind it?
Sure. Stream sprung kind of from a need that we had to do a better job logging actions in the admin area. A client wanted to know, who was doing what, when and there, everything. So Frankie Jarrett, who works with me at Eckstein, came up with the idea of a commercial plugin that would track every event in the admin area. And I will fund your time to make that happen. And actually, at one point, we had 5 or 6 full-time developers on it. I don't know if we have that many right now or not. But that's exactly what it does. It logs every event that happens in the admin area. And it does it using hooks. So it knows about everything that has a hook. And then we've created some add-ons for things like WooCommerce. So now it'll watch WooCommerce hooks. And somebody's working on one for EDD, and eventually we'd like to watch every plugin. The API for telling Stream what's going on is available and easy to use. So if you have a plugin that you want Stream to log, you can add a module to your plugin, say, check if Stream is there, and if it is, hook into it, and then away you go. When we first released it, it stored its data in custom tables, which had a number of issues. If your site was ever destroyed, the tables went with it. If you wanted to run it on a host that does not allow extra tables, then you just can't. Elasticsearch, which is a service for searching large amounts of data very, very quickly. And so now we have a beta out for where Stream stores all of its data in Elasticsearch rather than in local tables. So if your site melts down, you could still get all your data back, and you can see what was going on at the time, see who pushed the update button, and find out what was going on. It makes it very, very fast. The free model will give you, whereas if you buy into the Stream Club, you have basically an infinite number of logs. And also you get access to a bunch of add-on plugins. We have a really excellent push notifications plugin that will, you create recipes that say, if such and such happens, send me a note on my phone. And I was really impressed with that. It's practically instantaneous. I pushed the button and my phone vibrated in my other hand. And that was really impressive. And there are some extended reporting tools available they make charts and graphs, and you can see what's going on. And it was surprising to me the variety of target audiences. I talked to a lot of freelancers where I say you should use Stream, and they say why, and I say because you put it on your client site, and when they call you and say my site is broken, I don't know why I didn't do anything. You load up the log file and you say, why, look here, yesterday at 3 p.m. and 27 seconds, you updated that plugin over there, even though I told you not to. And they're like, oh, I got to get this. But then we talked to people who run sites with a lot of editors, a variety of people managing content. They love it as well because they can see who is updating what and when and how often, and who's slacking and who's having trouble. They can see the errors, so they can say, hey, Bob, I noticed that every time you try to update a post, you run into this problem. Here's how you can avoid that problem, things like that. So it's really flexible as far as audience, and it's extremely powerful as far as what it can track. And because any plugin developer can hook into Stream, I find that really exciting because there isn't really anything to stop Stream from tracking every plugin there is, as long as that author wants it to be tracked. So that's my Stream pitch.
Yeah, I love Stream. Like, I really love it. I just started using it not too long ago, when you introduced it to me. And I discovered that it was super awesome. So tell us about the future of Stream. What's coming next?
Well, we're just rolling out this beta with Elasticsearch, and we're really excited about it because it's much faster than it used to be, much more flexible. We have a really excellent API for it, so it would be really easy to build your own apps for it. I would like to see some mobile apps where you can just fire it up and see your stream logs and see what's going on. It would be really, really easy. So if you know any mobile developers who want to just do that, you might want to suggest it to them. So at this point, the future is really just making it faster and better. We have a number of ideas for things we want to do down the road, other major plugins that we want to make connectors for, things like that. But at this point, it's mostly just making it faster and more awesome.
Hey, Topher. Sorry about the echo.
That's okay.
Okay. I listened to one podcast where cinemamakers were talking about the product and talking about maybe turning it into a software as a service. So rather than the logs, the stream data itself living on your server, it would be sent somewhere else where it could be, stored and retrieved, even if your server crashed and burned, that kind of thing. Is that what you were kind of talking about?
Yeah, that's the Elasticsearch thing, where it's Elasticsearch is a pretty generic service. Anybody can pay to store pretty much anything in there. So when you get the free version of Stream right now, you get that limited account for free, and so there's still always going to be the free model for anybody who wants to give it a whirl.
Got it.
Keeping it out of the local database is a pretty big deal.
Right. Very cool.
Hey, so Topher, I got some comments coming in. Peter says that he just had a great testimonial here for Stream that he figured out serious debugging issue on his site because of Stream. He had it running and discovered he was able to track down a day where a plugin was updated, and that was the cause of it, just because Stream logs all of that stuff that occurs. And I was able to do the same thing on a client site. The first time I started using this was because I had a pain in the butt client, and I instantly, when they started to bug me and say something was acting weird on the site, I was like, ding ding, Topher mentioned this awesome plugin. So I went put Stream on there, and then within days I was like, this is awesome, because it's like a log of what happens, and I could go in and I could say, you dummy, you deleted it yourself exactly on this time on this day. So it's super awesome. I love what it's doing, and the extensions look super cool. I'm excited. We have plans to get working on some Stream, integrations and extensions and stuff like that, because it just looks so much fun. We've got other questions for you too. One question: what analog pastimes does Topher partake in when he is not looking at a screen?
There's a whole bunch of stuff that I like to do. I have 2 girls who are in their early teens, and they have their own interests that I like to foster. My youngest is learning guitar, and so I got a guitar, and I'm working on learning that with her. Both my girls recently became interested in working with WordPress. So they've gone to a couple WordCamps with me, and they're learning a lot. But my eldest is more interested in content creation than she is in development. And so she blogs like crazy. And she's actually writing a novel on her blog. She's got like 15 chapters up now. But I'm working with her to think about how to organize content, how to organize her writings, the idea of categories and things like that. And I realize it sounds like I'm back to sitting in front of a screen, but we don't really do that in front of the screen. We talk about it sitting in the living room or driving down the road in the car or something like that. And it's a lot more about life learning and thinking about information than it is about programming or sitting in front of a computer or something like that. I do love to read. I read a lot. And I have a couple of groups that I hang out with. I hang out with the WordPress meetup. I'm in a sci-fi book club. And I do stuff at my church. But my kids are both in youth groups, so we're usually there helping out and doing stuff like that.
All right, that's awesome. So another question here. Going back to the teaching stuff that you've done, all the lessons that you've created, I know you've got, you talked about you want to know something better, you teach, and you've been a great teacher to a lot of people, taught a lot of lessons. And one of our viewers wants to know if you could tell us about any examples of like the worst things that you taught others, considering that hindsight is 20/20. Looking back, the early days of starting to teach other lessons to people, what do you look back and go, that's so doing it wrong? What was I thinking?
Well, for a bunch of years, I taught Intro to Web Development at Cornerstone University, and they didn't really have a computer program, so the students were marketing majors and business majors and things like that. They didn't necessarily have a programming background and fundamentals and things like that. And so first semester was HTML, and second semester was PHP and MySQL. And I wasn't teaching WordPress. I was just teaching raw app development. And at the time, I really knew nothing at all about sanitization of user input. And so I taught an awful lot of people to blindly take input from users and stick it in the database and hope nothing goes wrong. And I look back on it and I think, oh man, I hope they're not still doing that. And I'm pretty sure they're not. I've kept up with most of my students who chose to forego their chosen career and instead become a web developer. And most of them have advanced to become professionals now and have learned how to do it right, basically. But when I look back on it and I think, my first year teaching, I taught everybody how to use the mail function in PHP. You just make a form, people type in whatever they want, you pack it in the mail function and send it out, which is spammer heaven. It's just the worst. You never, ever, 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 ever. And I just look back and I think, man, I hope nobody's doing that anymore.
All right. I'm sure you've redeemed yourself with all the OS training and everything since, so no worries, Topher. Next, we wanted to talk a little bit about the plugin handbook, or WordPress plugin handbook. I know you're contributing quite a bit to that. How did you originally get involved with the Docs team and the plugin handbook project?
That was surprisingly easy to do. I've always enjoyed writing documentation. It's just something I like doing. It falls easily in line with being a teacher. And I was at Austin WordCamp, and Siobhan McEwen was sitting at a table 30 feet away, and I knew that she was on the Docs project, and I introduced myself and said, hey, I'm interested in working on the Docs project. And she said, well, what's your WordPress.com username? And I told her, and she said, all right, clickety-click, here you are. You are on the project. You have editor access to the plugins handbook. Ben Lobaugh is the guy that you should ask questions of. Have a good time. And just like that, I was on the project. And it's really that easy. If you demonstrate competence and express interest, then you're part of the team. And somebody will say, hey, this chapter needs to be either written from scratch or edited or whatever, anything. I'm working on the plugins handbook, which in the end will be a book on how to write a plugin, just like any other book, but it'll be just online. There's also a themes handbook, similar idea, but just how to make a theme properly. And we still need plenty of people. We really want to be done by San Francisco WordCamp, and I don't know if we'll be there or not, but we'll be pretty close, a lot closer than last year, that's for sure. So if you're interested in being part of the Docs project, let me know. I can get you hooked up in the right place with the right people. But it's been a lot of fun. I've met a ton of people. Just really sharp people who know what they're doing, who are building amazing things, and are excited to have me take part in them building amazing things. That's fun, it's exciting, it's gratifying, and I enjoy writing. If you don't enjoy writing documentation, you probably shouldn't be part of the Docs project. But I recommend it. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's really great that you're doing that. Is there like a minimum, amount of content or something that you want to have on the plugin developer handbook before you say it's completed? And I'm sure it'll be that kind of thing, but do you have it mapped out in terms of the number of chapters?
got the gist of your question. We do have a map. It's a spreadsheet of all the chapters and the percentage complete that they are. We're going to go live before we're entirely happy with it because it will be good enough. And then in the months and years to come, we'll just keep adding on to it and polishing it and making it more and more awesome. I would say we are currently about 75 or 80% done, which is pretty good. I think when I started in June, we were probably done. And the project's been going for 4 years. So we're making really good progress, and I'm excited about it.
Very cool. What would you say the biggest challenge it has been being a part of the docs team doing that?
The biggest challenge actually surprised me quite a bit. I was strongly encouraged to pillage the codex for information because it has tons of good information. And also to borrow from excellent blog posts around the internet. Get permission from, maybe Jaquith or Nason or whatever, if they did an excellent post on how to do something, to include that information. And the biggest problem that I've had, that I've run into, is there's so much information. If I'm writing a chapter on, the intro to custom post types, well, if you go to the codex, there's just reams of it. And on top of that, on other sites, there's more and more information, and it just goes on and on forever. And so I actually found myself struggling to condense properly, to coalesce what should be on this site, what should not be on this site, What excellent piece of information should I throw away because it doesn't quite fit, or because it was said better over there, or something like that. And so there's only one chapter that I actually struggled with the technical content, and that was the settings. And that one had the most information available, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I brought in some other people, and we worked on it together, and I think somebody else is going to wrap it up, actually. But the availability of technical information is not the problem. It is the practical application of taking the vast amount of technical information and applying it properly in a concise way that makes sense to our target audience. And I would place our target audience at someone who knows a little bit of PHP at least and wants to be able to write a plugin.
Yeah. Well, cool. Good insight to that process. What are a few other ways that you personally contribute to, and also what encouragement would you have for those interested in contributing more to the community as well, especially those that may not be as fantastic developers as yourself?
My favorite ways to contribute to the community don't really have anything to do with my development skills. For me, the community is all about communication and interaction, encouragement and growth. I dearly love going to WordCamps and meeting everybody. And you sit down at lunch next to somebody who says, yeah, I'm here at this WordCamp thing because WordPress looks kind of cool and I thought I could be a developer, but it's so overwhelming. And I say, you know what? Let me talk you down from that cliff because it's not that bad. There are people who will help you. Where do you live? Well, I live in Chicago. Okay, there's a WordPress meetup in Chicago. Here, let's look on the internet. They meet, such and such a night at such and such a time. If you go there, these people will help you every single month because that's the way the community works. that kind of stuff it's exciting to me. It's thrilling to be able to meet people and to learn from them and to teach them and to share and move forward, and it's just awesome. So I find myself talking to an awful lot of people, joining more groups than I probably should. I'm working on the plugin handbook, and the theme handbook's just sitting right over there across the table, and I think, maybe I could write for that too. No. I do have children, and they need to know who I am. It's crazy fun. It really is. It's just so much fun to be part of the WordPress community.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome.
So definitely, speaking of, you talk about WordCamp. So that was the next place I wanted to go with our chat here. You've been to a fair number, I'm sure. I'd love to hear about some of your cool experiences at WordCamps in the past, time permitting. But first, we should definitely let everybody know that if you want to get to know Topher a little bit better, or you really want to hear, learn more from him and the wisdom he's got to share, great opportunity at WordCamp Ann Arbor coming up less than 2 weeks from now. Topher's going to be doing an amazing presentation. So maybe, Topher, you could give us a little synopsis of what your talk's going to be about. And I've seen a few of your talks before, and every time it's been just eye-opening. So what's this next talk about? And what kind of stuff do you do to prepare for your talks? How do you pick your topic, and how do you prepare such really compelling presentations?
I'm going to be doing it's actually a rerun of one that I did at Grand Rapids last year about server-side caching. And it's site faster, so your end users are happy. But more so, it's about not letting your server melt down because it's poorly configured. And it's funny you should ask what I do to prepare, because when I did this session last time, I didn't do anything to prepare for it, because I was giving the talk because I had just come out of a situation where we had to do all of this stuff because our server was consistently melting. And it was right in the front of my mind. And I gave the talk because I figured it out. I beat it, I fixed our server. Now I have to go tell everybody. And it was really exciting. Well, now it's been a year since then. And so, I look back and I think, well, what did I do? What are all the little things that I did? And so, excuse me. So for this one, I'm actually using slides. I was at WordPress Grand Rapids a couple of weeks ago, and Brian Richards is a friend of mine, and he strongly urged me to start using slides. I never used slides before. So I started using slides. So for this one, I prepared by putting together some slides and getting together good links for the tools that I'm using. In the past, I would just have a web page full of links, and I'd put it up on the screen and just leave it there for people to see. And now they're much more organized, much more, I don't know how to say it. They're in smaller chunks, so it's easier to wrap your head around each individual piece. And something that really surprised me, I took my slides from WordCamp Grand Rapids, and I put them on SlideShare, because that's what you do. I guess everybody said, oh yeah, my slides are on SlideShare, so I put them up there. And I didn't even think about it again. And 2 weeks later, I got an email from SlideShare that said, here are the stats on your slides. And I thought, oh, cool, they keep stats. 437 views on my slides. And I was floored. I was like, wow, people actually went back and looked at my slides. They got good information from them, apparently. And that surprised me, and I think it's interesting and exciting. So now I'm putting more effort into my slides. I'm thinking more about them and trying to do a better job in general of being prepared and having less off the cuff. This talk is my first WordCamp talk that was not inspired by something that had immediately happened in my life prior. I've talked about, I did a talk, WordCamp talk on how to build a plugin, and I had just finished writing my first plugin. And so it was all fresh in my head, and it was just right there, and I just got up and talked. And so this is the first one where I'm talking about something that I'm knowledgeable about, but isn't immediately present in my life. So back to teaching. I'm rounding out the edges of my knowledge and looking at things. And there are some new things. And there are some new technologies that did not exist 1 year ago that are interesting and exciting. So even if you saw my talk last year, you should come to this one because there'll be something new.
I really wish that I could sit in on your talk this year in Ann Arbor. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it because I happen to be moderating a panel in another room at the same time that yours is on. But you can rest assured that when our videos go up on WordPress TV, I'm going to be reviewing yours because I know Topher's presentation is always just packed with good information, stuff I didn't know. Like start to finish, stuff I did not know or did not comprehend or realize yet. So we're pretty much about out of time. I had just like a couple quick more questions that we could just like boom, knock out, get your answer for real quick. Who, if you could name one person or even just a couple people in the WordPress community really inspire you?
Pippin Williamson has been a huge inspiration for me for a long, long time. I first got serious about WordPress in 2010, and I got his Easy Custom Post Types plugin, and I'm a long-time open source advocate, so I know what it's like to work in an open source community, and I know how awesome it is to be able to contact a product creator and have them personally answer. And so I knew what it could be like. But Pippin was over the top awesome, and always has been. He's not just and he took time and he answered my questions and he helped me understand. I came into WordPress as an accomplished PHP developer, but of course I didn't know any vocabulary of the WordPress development world. And he took the time to explain to me what WPDB is and how database connections work and how they should work and how you shouldn't work them and things like that. And he's been inspiring to me the whole time. He's awesome as a coder. He's awesome as a business guy. He's just awesome. So he's the guy you should have next.
Well, that's funny. That's a hit for us because actually our guest last week was Pippin Williamson. Just last Monday. And I totally agree with you on that. Pippin is really, really great. That was the first interaction directly with him by us, and it was awesome. And Pippin was really, really great about absolutely everything. Such an accommodating guy, an incredibly busy guy, very productive, doing so many amazing things for his business and ventures and the community and the people around him. And, yeah, definitely, I totally agree with that. Next quick question: What's one great WordPress related resource online that you recommend that we all check out?
I really like WP Sessions. Brian Richards, I mentioned him earlier, started it up because he wanted to learn. He wanted to take the smart people he knew and convince them somehow to teach him their stuff. And so he paid them because he thought it was worth their time. The knowledge they had was worth the money he was going to pay them. But he thought, why should I be the only one that benefits from this? And so he created WP Sessions, and you can watch an individual set of sessions, or you can become a club member and watch all of them for a year. And he gets the smartest people he knows on any given topic to talk about, things he wants to learn. So there's been a JavaScript one, not just JavaScript, but there was one specifically on Node, I think. They just did a design one, and he's done some on e-commerce. He's done some on business and some marketing, and he never fails to get top-notch people to talk about it. And I really, really recommend it.
You are so that Brian Richards does a great job of consistently getting, the authorities on a given topic and putting out real quality stuff. The quality would be something I would associate definitely with WP Sessions. Always good. Last couple of questions here. You were telling us about a really great local wine. Tell us more about this real quick.
Leelanau Cellars. It's so popular that I've started seeing it, late into the spring, and it starts coming out in August. But the best way I could describe it is Christmas in a bottle. It's got just the right mix of cinnamon and cloves and everything. It's just fantastic. And I emailed them actually not too long ago, and I asked them if they could mail bottles of it because I wanted to send some to friends. And they said only if they're in Michigan, which doesn't really help me any because you can buy it everywhere in Michigan. So I can just say to people, hey, go buy a bottle. It's great. I wanted to mail some to friends in other states and things like that, but you can't do that right now. So if you're not in Michigan, you should come here just for that wine.
Yeah, we're talking to you, Jason. So that's unfortunate because I'd be shipping some straight down to Jason in Columbia so you could try it.
Right.
And just in case anybody else missed, because we were breaking up just a little bit, the name of this excellent wine is Witch's Brew, and I recommend it as well. It's fantastic. So that's wrapping up episode 24 today. Anything that we didn't cover yet, Topher?
Nothing I can think of. I mean, we could talk forever, but we don't have forever.
Yeah, we could talk a lot, that's for sure. There's so many things that I'd love to talk with you about, and I'll be hitting you up on Skype as often, as you'll respond. But where can people find you online if they want to get to know you more, or in person? Where are they going to find you?
Topher One Kenobi, pretty much everywhere. Topher1Kenobi.com. I'm on Skype and Google Talk and AOL Instant Messenger and Yahoo and MSN Messenger, pretty much anywhere. GitHub. I'm Topher One Kenobi everywhere. In person.
Although I think MSN Messenger just died, right? They just killed it off and merged it with Skype, I believe.
I did not know that. It's been actually probably a year since I logged on.
I just read that recently, yeah. We rolled in with Skype on Skype.
Yeah, if you want to meet me in person, I'm in Grand Rapids. We have a monthly WordPress meetup on the third Thursday of every month. We're on meetup.com. Love to have you stop by.
All right, definitely. And come see Topher in Ann Arbor. Come shake Topher's hand and thank him for all the things he does. If you bump into him at WordCamp San Francisco as well. And just hit him up on Twitter and just tell Topher what a great guy he is, and thanks for his contributions to the community and for coming on the roundtable. So thanks a lot, Topher. This wraps up episode 24. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Topher. Great to have you on. Appreciate it.